everybody, it's Romania Black, and how is this the penultimate episode of Gunbuster? Yeah, so I took a break, came back. I recorded episode 4 before I went on my vacation, so coming back now feels so weird because we only have 2 episodes left of Gunbuster, which is wild to me. Absolutely wild. And then we'll be starting a new series. I think this is honestly the shortest series. Well, I watched Uzumaki last fall, but I kind of walked into that knowing it was a special and it was only going to be like 3 or 4 episodes. But this is like honestly of a regular series and not just like a special adaptation, which I guess they're all OVAs. So yeah, it is kind of like Uzumaki. So I can't say it's my shortest series I've watched, but it has gone by insanely fast. And yeah, we just had a big battle last episode, so now it's like, what are we gonna do? So I'm in the process of reorganizing my recording space, so if you notice these giant empty shelves that are behind me, that's because they're finally set up. I've got to put things on them. I might be redoing some of the lighting, and the camera angle may change. It probably won't change before I finish Gunbuster, but it's definitely in the works. So lots of things on the channel kind of shifting focus in my workspace, but not going to interfere with our fun time with Gunbuster, because what a fun time it has been. I've got some comments I want to talk about before we dive into this episode. Mainly comments from episodes 2 and episodes 3. I probably won't be able to talk about all the comments by the time I finish the series, but I am going to read all of your comments for episodes 5 and episode 6, because by that point I'll already know. Just don't tell me anything about the movie. Don't tell me anything about Diebuster. One day I may see those other pieces of media related to Gunbuster, but it is not this time. So I don't want to be spoiled on that. If I get spoiled, I'm not going to watch it. So just so you're aware. And if you don't want me to watch it, please don't spoil just because of that, because that's being mean. Nobody wants that. I may have my moderator just go ahead and check episodes 5 and 6 for the comments just to make sure people aren't cruel and do that. But you heard it here first. Please don't do that. Let's just talk about Gunbuster instead. So Bestial Moon 2327 for episode 2 said, I did have an explanation for the flag on the moon landing. Taking my tinfoil cap off and throwing it in the wind. They said there's a pole at the top running horizontally, so the flag stays out and doesn't droop down the pole. When the astronauts are placing it, it's waving due to the force of them moving it. Anytime they don't interact with it, it's completely still. I hope this helps. Man, that, you just blew my conspiracy-addled mind, and I read that and went, okay, look at science having the answer. So, usually behind any conspiracy theory, there is a logical explanation, and this is one of those moments. So thank you, Bestial Moon, for getting all of the conspiracy tinfoil hats off of all of us. Ace22 for episode 2 says, one thing you pointed out as part of life on the space station is there's a no smoking rule. While it's a good rule in general for health reasons, it's also a practical and safety thing with the possibility that the station is pumping pure oxygen into the station. So lighting up a cigarette could cause an explosion or a massive fire. Only you can prevent space station fires. Probably a good thing that we're not smoking in a atmosphere of pure oxygen. So cool. I'm glad, Ace, that you are also thinking of the science as well in terms of that. Ace also said the introduction of Jungfraud got me thinking about the geopolitical situation on Earth. With when the series was made at the tail end of the Cold War with Russia in 1988 and their rivalry with the US and the whole space race, we get a character with a really German name. So does this mean that in Gunbuster, the Soviet Union did expand into Europe and took over Germany? Maybe Jung wanted to be a pilot of these mechs and go into space, and it moved Russia to train because they had a space program. I don't know, but I thought it was an interesting and small way to do some neat world building. That is kind of a really cool thing to point out, is that when this series was made in 1988, there's probably a lot of uncertainties of what the future would be like. And I kind of like to see, especially futures that are set in now, where we are currently, to see what people back in the 80s and before thought was going to be the future. I mean, we always think of Back to the Future and like, why don't we have hoverboards and all of this? But then there are some aspects of Back to the Future where like, oh God, no, we kind of predicted that one. Uh-oh. So But I do think that that's a really cool, like, little nod to where the world building was going without knowing how that geopolitical atmosphere was going to shape up in the real world. Ogami7661 for episode 3 says, fun fact, Smith is named after Torrin Smith. So Smith, Torrin Smith, a Canadian manga translator who provided the voice for a background character in one episode of the series and worked with Gainax on some translations. I like that this translator was so helpful that they were like, hey, can we name a character that dies after you? And they were like, yeah, I guess. I mean, in stereotypical Canadian fashion, they're probably like, okay. And that was not meant to be a Canadian accent. I'm not going to even provide one because I know it would be wrong. Alex Cornejo for episode 3 says, now, this is in relation to Neon Genesis Evangelion. So if you don't want to have any spoilers of Neon Genesis Evangelion, just kind of skim through the next minute, you know, maybe until I like wave my hand like this. Then I'll be done. Alex Cornejo for episode 3 says, shy, brown-haired main character with an absent parent. Check. Serious, mission-focused blue-haired girl who would do whatever is required of her. Check. Hot-blooded redhead Westerner that wants everyone to know she's the queen bee. Check. Gray-haired boy that's introduced and dies in a single episode and only lives long enough to mess with the potential love triangle and give the main character their bisexual awakening instead. Check. Once you see it, it's really hard to ignore who made this. I love that comment so much. And basically, Ano has types. Ano has types. And we should know these types by now. But the last one about Smith and the relation to Kaoru sent me over the edge. I was like, oh my God. I mean, yes. Yes, Noriko is Shinji, but with boobs. So yeah, into that. But yeah, Alex, that was an amazing comment. I'm 1,000 times here for it. Although we've talked about Shinji and Noriko, and which I prefer a little bit at this point in the series. But anyway, Lyndon for episode 3 says, it makes you feel better. The science in this is all based around the theory of space ether, which has long been since disproven by the time this comes out. I mean, I kind of like the idea that there's some old disproven space technology and jargon in this. It's kind of fun, and it's kind of fun because people can talk about it then and be like, remember when people thought that was a thing? Good times. And then Sunspots says for episode 3, I really enjoy Smith, and I absolutely agree he definitely had some Vash-like mannerisms, a la Trigun. Glad that Noriko got to meet him and love how the show presented them becoming friends with just a few minutes of screen time. I will say, this series has done an amazing job of literally pacing and getting whatever it needed to be done on time. Like, for a show that's about space-time and how warped and twisted it is, the pacing of this series is amazing. I'm really all here for it. So yes, I will be asking Sunspots, who's the moderator, for a copy of the lessons and whatnot, and I think they've actually already been, now that I'm thinking about it, while I was on vacation, I think they were sent to me, so I will have them for episode 6 when we get to it next week. So I will be looking at the science lessons as a bonus and reacting to it, so that'll be an exciting time. But yeah, I'm super hyped to get into this episode. It's 27 minutes, almost 28 minutes. So it's a little bit longer than last week, which is exciting. So thank you all so much for your comments and your kind words. This has been such a fun series, and I can't believe we're on the penultimate episode, but we defeated the monster. So what can we do now? And especially in 28 minutes. We'll just have to find out. So we're going to start Gunbuster episode 5, and we're going to do that here in 3, 2, 1, and I'll see you all on the other side. And just when you think the space battles are over. Damn, okay, wow. No, that was a really good episode. I'm so glad at the growth Noriko has gone through. It only took her losing her crush in a horrific death and possible doom of her entire planet and the people she cares about to really get her to kick it in gear. But when Noriko kicks it in gear, she kicks it in gear. I really like that Noriko is the one who kind of brings Kazuki out of her funk in the end. I really liked that because I felt like that was, I don't want to compare this to Neon Genesis, the entirety of it, but I feel like one thing Neon Genesis, like, without spoiling anything, it just relishes in the angst and ennui. It relishes and just slathers itself in the angst that its main character goes through. And the main character is allowed no time, or they are allowed opportunities for growth. Don't get me wrong. And they grow a little bit. But there are so many setbacks and so much insanity that kind of hinders them in ways that I can't talk about without spoiling. Go watch Neon Genesis, and the reactions are on the channel. But what I like about Noriko in this is that she doesn't regress, right? Which is something I really appreciate. She's still a kid. She's still 17, which we'll talk about. But even while she is 17, she technically has taken the events that she's been through and the things that have allowed her to grow. And she doesn't regress or move backwards. She moves forwards with that information. And she even uses it to help get her friend, who should be the level-headed one, out of a funk, because love makes fools of us all. You know how it goes. And that's a phrase that's going to come back up later on in this episode. But yeah, what a crazy episode. So the entire concept of time and how traveling in space and the time spent on Earth are totally different things. Like, it's mainly the light speed. The warp speed that they do to catch up, the warp drive that they do allows the time to flow differently than it does on Earth. And the concept of that in the world building of this show is kind of wild, because 10 years have passed since they left, whereas it only seemed like 6 months ago, but it's been 10 years. That's insane. That's actually quite crazy. I like that we only find out about Kimiko and about the bully. We only find out about those two. So it says the Imperial Space Navy School, Okinawa Girls Space Pilot High School, 16th graduation ceremony. The Okinawa Girls Space Pilot High School, entry forbidden to non-affiliates. So it's their 16th graduation ceremony, which, if they left 10 years ago, means that they were freshmen it had been going for 6 years. Okay, number of graduates, 2. Which is crazy. So yeah, I mean, honestly, if you were pretty much done fighting aliens, I liked the idea that Kashiwara, that's her name, Kashiwara stares back and kind of takes on the coach's duty, which is fun. It says Kashiwara is an old maid, which means she's not married, which she was saving herself for Kazumi. Clearly. I miss Masayuki, and then Mr. Crab, Yahoo summer holidays start today. Yay, do it this year. It's crazy. I mean, I understand why they kept the high school going, because they've been doing this other side project, which was to essentially evacuate the Earth. If the space monsters came to destroy the Earth, we were going to evacuate it. At first I was like, but I thought we destroyed the monsters. But then, yeah, no, they came after them, and they were and Earth was planning on that happening, because they knew, as well as we do, that sometimes humans we're not efficient at eradicating all of our problems, you know? So it was September 15th through 16th, 2032. Kashiwara had a glow up. She also realized that her hat would hide her 5 head, which is very good for her. I mean, is it school appropriate for her to have a crop top while she's out there? I mean, she's a PE coach. She can do whatever she wants, apparently. Dress code be damned at this girl's high school, and then we see all of her friends graduating, and there's Noriko, and then there's a little shot of there's Kimiko. The shot of Noriko off in the sidelines is really funny. But yeah, man, Kimiko had a damn glow up. And for a second I was like, does she have the dead mother's haircut? But she doesn't. Or does she have the dead mother's ponytail? It looked a little bit like it. I was like, don't be dying now, Kimiko. Not now. So this episode's called Please, There's Enough Time for Love. And the moment that they said, we're 17, but then she's like, well, technically, we're still 17. And I want to get, where is my subtitles? I'm going to go back to this being in Japanese, because it has it in English and there's not the subtitles. So the episode called Please, There's Enough Time for Love. And as they're walking by, Noriko is making the observation that it feels weird being back after 10 years when they're still 17. So that's when she's like, I feel very privileged. And that's when Kazuki says, it hasn't quite sunk in. Kazumi says it hasn't quite sunk in for you yet. Your birth certificate says you're 27 years old now. I think that's weird. I'm just going to say it. That's weird. They're not 27. They're 17. Like, there should be, this is the future. There should be some accountability for time and space continuum altering the ages that they are. There should be a freeze on their birth certificate. Just put a stamp somewhere on it that says went to space, didn't age, like cut off 10 years, or have like a 10-year contingency on there, because it says the birth certificate says they're 27, but I'm like, they're not. And that does, okay. We can talk in the comments about, is it creepy that Oda and Kazumi were a thing? Is it weird that Kazumi and Oda are a thing? Is it weird? It is weird to me. It is weird to me. I thought he was going some other route with it, which is why I was like, Happy Pride Month. He was encouraging the Yuri the whole time. I guess he was entrusting Noriko with her, being like, if it can't be me. I was like, do you know if your potential girlfriend is bisexual or not? Okay, cool. I am not. I know that Japanese culture is different. I know that some people do not think the age gap thing is weird. I do, especially because they're 17, and which I'm assuming Kazumi is 17 as well, right? She's not younger than Noriko. Maybe she's 18, but he was, let's put this in perspective. He was a full-grown man when Noriko and Kazumi were like 7. He was a full-grown man. Like he's like what, 20 at the time? We're gonna say 20 at least. Maybe we'll give him 19. That's still 8 years older. So if these girls are, let's say they're 18. I know Noriko's 17, but let's say Kazumi's 18. Let's be nice. He's still 26. 26-year-old with an 18-year-old. I felt like that line about being 27 was just to give it more an okay for the censors of being like, it's fine if they're together. She's actually 27. I'm like, she's not. She's not. No, time has altered in this era, but she has not aged 10 years. No. Their bodies have not physically done that. Because then at that point, Noriko's like, wow, I'd have a kid by this point. And it's like, don't be getting any crazy ideas. And that's when she sees Kimiko with her daughter, who Takumi is adorable. She is absolutely adorable. I like that Kimiko aged so much that she got a totally different voice actress. Or she sounds different, but her voice is deepened like 3 octaves. I don't know. Honestly, that's such a weird thing to me because I don't feel as if I feel like I have the same voice I did when I was 17. So I don't know if my voice is deepened or not. It's funny to me. But yeah. So there's the diploma and a yearbook. So it's like Kimiko was having, some nostalgia. And then they sit there and talk about what's been going on. Yeah, man, Kimiko, Takumi, girl, your mom has the dead mom haircut. I'm glad that Noriko was able to save the planet so that you didn't have to worry about that. But damn, Kimiko had a glow up. Girl's friggin', she's MILF status. Good for her. Good for her. So she says, apparently the ship is 70 kilometers long, the one that they've been building, the 5th generation space battleship, the Eltrium. So they've been building that. And it's to evacuate from Earth. And then Noriko's like, wait, why would we be evacuating from Earth? I thought we destroyed the problem. I thought we're just getting some R&R. What? And she's like, excuse me. And then she's like, apparently they're only going to let 1 in 4,000 on the ship that are civilians. And so it's like the friggin' Titanic. Kimiko is like, look, can you use your connections to get my daughter on the ship? And I was having instant flashbacks of the dad, Takiya's father, who basically went down with the ship and let Oda get out alive so he could stay behind. And here you have Kimiko with the same mindset of save my child, the future generation, and I'll stay behind. And I was like, whoa. So we have Jung, Lyra Ward's army lodging, and we have Jung's number. Then we have Kimiko's number. Be sure to call before 10, because her kid will be asleep. So yeah, she tries to get a hold of her kid and it doesn't work. So they've not been back home for long. So later on, whenever they're wondering about the Gunbuster and everything, we'll talk about that. But the concept of time is so crazy in this series that I was like, okay, it's been 10 years, but they just got back. So the Gunbuster went out, did its trial run, and no one on Earth was none the wise or privy to that. So of course they weren't making other Gunbusters. So the Gunbuster is the only thing we got. So that makes all sense. So I love the boxes, the moving boxes that have like the little Gunbuster symbol on it. Super cute. But yeah, so remember we didn't have any fan service moments in episode 4? Well, episode 5 decided that we had to make up that quota. We had to make up that. And we're going to talk about them because of course we're going to talk about them. So yeah, so Takumi answers the phone, and I love the Nausicaa poster, which the space monsters kind of do look a little bit like the monsters in Nausicaa, which is like dystopian. It meets the criteria. It's a fun time. And then the My Neighbor Totoro with Takumi kind of matches too, so that's really cute. But yeah, look, do I have a problem with Noriko hanging out in her underwear in her bedroom? No, I don't blame a girl. I could understand that. Kimiko and her dad are away. Where she lays back on the bed. Now, when she lays back on the bed, that is the most billowy, buoyant top in anime history, because it's just like bloop bloop, boobs pop out in every which way in second, and they are the, again, most flounciest boobs, defying all gravity as we know it. I mean, they kind of go out to the side a little bit, so I'll give them points for anatomy there, but those are like insane. Those are like implants almost. Like Noriko's boobs are defying gravity as we speak. I do love the Van Halen poster. I only enjoy what I'm doing, and it's from 2021, which is like what, 11 years ago on there. So she had it a year before they went off to space, and she has Van Halen on there. That's a fun little twist. I like that a lot. That's fun. It's cute. Time is passing me by while I'm in space. And that shot, it's leaving me behind all alone. Yeah, that would be extremely disorienting to come back and find out that a decade had passed and you're the same age. It's almost like being a vampire. Like you're just like, oh, time has passed me by. You would think that that would affect their body in a weird way. And I'm wondering if that's like, Oda had the space radiation syndrome, which I'm like, girls, should you be worried about that? But I guess he was a different story or succumbed to it or whatever. But I don't mind her like up against the bed with the shirt pulled back. I think that's fine. It's fan service, but it's okay. But when she like leans over with the picture and like the whole shirt, she leans over. I'm trying to like examine the physics of this because she's leaned over on her side. The one strap, like, is it even on at all? Did it somehow fall across her shoulder and the other strap fell under her shoulder? Like the physics of that shirt, y'all, animators. But look, if a girl fell asleep with a shirt like that on, first of all, why you got a shirt that loose? No girl has a shirt that loose. But if they did, and maybe some of them would, if you fell asleep on your side and you weren't paying attention and you moved around a little bit, then sure. Could the shirt end up in that position? I'm sure it could. But you know how uncomfortable that is to sit like that holding that picture frame? Girl would have adjusted and fixed that shirt. I'm just calling it like it is. You fan servicey otaku artists. So yeah. So she does look at the photo of her dad and she's like, is this how you felt when you came back from space? To see time pass so quickly. And I liked that comparison of her thinking like, you know, my dad went through the same thing I'm going through. Like, how did that feel for him? You know? So then there's an emergency phone call. There's all these enemy space monsters, millions of them in fact, that are gonna try and kill everybody. So like, okay, well, what do we do? Imagine the diameter of Pluto's orbit. I love all the close-ups of everybody's like the ink pen that's clearly from the 80s, like with the ink blot, like the quill tip, and then the ashtray of cigarette butts is just, it's so good. It's so good. Like little tiny details like that. It's grungy. I love it. The anti-space monster force formed 11 years ago. So yeah, so it's August 6th, the day before she's supposed to go hang out at the beach with Jung, right? And then August 10th, she's supposed to meet Kimiko. Well, unfortunately, I don't know if that meeting with Kimiko is going to happen now because 6 months has passed since they defeated the monsters. So maybe she'll get to hang out with her after the fact. But yeah, so they said the top squadron has announced it's disbanding. Uh-huh. And then she has all her clothes hanging up. Previously, at the Battle of Leaf 64, and everybody's trying to get a hold of her. Oda's asked for your report to the staff office at once. And she's like, okay, we're going to have to go out into battle. Here we go. And of course it starts raining. Of course it does. So, you make everything about you. It's always about you, and you never think about me. And he's like, well, if that's how you feel, then why are you still here? Well, there's a reason why she's still here, and it's exactly what we've been thinking that it is, right? I like that technically Noriko had Smith, so she does not need to be. The one thing I didn't want out of this episode that I thought I was going to get, if I'm completely honest with you all, the moment that they mentioned that we're technically 27, I was wondering if Oda would make a pass at Noriko. I was wondering if he was going to do it. I'm glad he did not. That was going to be the one thing I was going to be like, oh, don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that. He pushes away Kazumi until they defeat the aliens, which I'm like, but it's fine. She's consensual about it. She wanted it. So, okay, I'll let it go. I'll be a prude about it. But yeah. And then when she's like clearing off the umbrella, I like that she like taps the umbrella. I do the same thing and then puts it next to the blue one that's Kazumi's. And Kazumi did not do that. She just let it drip. And you hear Kazumi basically tell Oda that she loves him. She's like, we don't have a lot of time left. I really like, now that we know that she tried to tell Oda about how she felt about him in that moment, being like, you know, I want you to hold me and kiss me if this is our last time together. Like the way that his eyes dart around where he's like looking elsewhere and then he like smacks the hand on the table and then smacks her. It's like he clearly wanted to do something, but I feel like he held himself back because if he succumbed in that moment and admitted his feelings to her, then it's like, damn woman, we have things to do. We have worlds to save. If I kiss and hug you now, I'll never want to let you go. And like all of that business. And he's like, I'm dying, by the way. So just go save the world. Don't worry about me. Quit being selfish. Blah, blah, blah. Which I didn't expect it from Kazumi. I really didn't. I'm not surprised about it in hindsight. Because she is pretty emotional. She just hides it very well. Whereas Noriko's very open about her emotionality. But then when it gets down to it, she's gung-ho. It's funny. Kazumi and Noriko remind me a lot of the two coaches I had on the speech team that I attended when I was in college. One was always just always just saying whatever was on their mind, being very open-sleeved, kind of like Noriko. And the other one was like, very hidden cards underneath the vest. But then if shit went down, the person whose cards remained hidden would get really emotional. And then the one that was like Noriko would be like, okay, let's calm down. Let's think this through. So their dynamic was kind of similar, which is really cool. But we weren't battling space monsters or anything. So, but yeah, I'm like, Oda, I of course, Oda has to be the stereotypical, I'm a man and I'm very tough and I've got to worry about the fate of the universe. Silly woman worrying about this dick. Which is love. I get it. She loved him. And she, you know, was freaking out because she thought she'd never see him again. She knew exactly that he was sick and she was expecting this to be like the last moment they could share their love for one another. And that's not what ended up happening at all. I am kind of glad that she gets to see him at the end. I thought he was going to be dead. I really thought that he was going to die out in space, but I'm not going to be surprised if next episode it cuts immediately to a funeral, because if he was going to die, he just stayed alive long enough to see her. I'm like, is she going to have a kid or something from this whole experience? Who knows? But yeah, and then she walks out. And of course she's crying because she knows that he's probably going to be dead by the time they get back. You know, can we talk about Oda in all of this? We haven't really talked about Oda, and he probably isn't going to be here next episode. He looks really rough in this episode. And when you find out he's dying from space radiation poisoning, it's like, yeah, that makes sense. But he's like, if you tell Amano, she can't find out about this. If you tell her, I'll kill you. And it's like, dude, she already knows. She already knows. So the next day, I like that they cut away from the conversation with Noriko and the coach to Jung, and then they cut back to it as it's gearing up for the battle. I like that the day before There's nobody on the beach. It's a very Ano scene where no one's on the beach. It's very Ano, not a soul in sight. The world's possibly going to end in a day. And they're like, well, beach day. No time like the present. We're going to enjoy and soak up the sun on this planet one more time because who knows what's going to happen after today. Jung is like, I'm going to change my entire outlook on love. And of course, she's sunbathing topless. Why would we expect anything else? I do appreciate the bathing suit that Noriko has on. It's super cute. It's very old-fashioned. I like it. I guess Jung's like, nobody's around. She's like, Coach isn't just for me. I'm glad that Jung is like going to stop chasing after the coach because one, I mean, Kazumi's pretty much staked claim on that. And Noriko's not fighting her for it. But also, what does she say here? She's like, no one can live your life. She's like, it's like meeting someone is just the start of saying goodbye. Ooh, that hits really close to home now. It keeps going back to Noriko, and Noriko's just blindly standing there like, you don't say. So I'm like, Jung, are you going to like do something else? This is my life, and I only get to live it once. I don't want to waste a single minute. So she's like, I'm going to go slut it up and just have affairs with everybody while I still can and not tie myself down to one person. And Noriko's like, well, that's nice. She says, but damn, girl, you're quiet today. I love Jung. That moment was great. She's like, damn, girl, you can't say one thing. I'm out here basically expressing my sexuality. You having a conversation. We go and talk this out. What's happening? And Noriko's like, well, I'm having an existential crisis. She's like, is it that time? Why is it that time of the month? She's like, you're a dummy. And then we get like the most awkward butt shot in the history of awkward butt shots, but fan service is fan service. So yeah, Noriko's like, look, I'm not talking because I'm conflicted about my friends and everything that's about to go down. I do like the little angry face mug. That's great. It's great. No one can live your life. We have to live for ourselves. Yep. We can't live for anybody else. Which that's the thing. Kazumi wanted them to be able to live for each other in that moment. And the coach was like, no, we got bigger fish to fry. It's interesting. There is some, granted, they could have been very gratuitous with the nudity in this episode. They could have been very gratuitous. I give it a hard time because it's not necessary at all. But if you're going to put in the nudity, they do it in a very artistic way that I'm like, well, some thought went into that. Some thought went into where that boob was going to show up and the little glare of light in between her legs. That some creative storyboarding was involved. And so we need to give credit where credit is due, of course. So as she's like getting the coach, she's like, Coach, what is up? And he's like, Takaya, humanity is staring down the greatest threat ever. He's like, now's not the time to worry about getting laid. He's like, shut up and listen. He's like, quit worrying about me. I make fun of the coach because of how abrasive he is. And he's just like, his tone suggests silly woman. But the reality is he's very concerned about the threat that is coming to Earth. And he's talking to teenagers. So there is that to keep in mind. He's talking to teenagers, which is something to keep in mind. But, and so he tells Noriko that the enemy is coming and they have to do something about it. It's the largest attack yet. Everything gets bigger and bigger. We have one sliver of a chance if any of us are going to survive. And it's you and Amano and the Gunbuster. And she's like, but Coach. And then he's like, Takaya, you need to win. I love he just doesn't feel the need to explain anything about himself. That's just him. That's just his style. That's just how he works. It's like, okay. And Noriko's like, well, I've learned to accept how you are, sir. You have to save the Earth so that you can protect your friends. When he grabbed her hand, I thought he was going to make a move on her for a second. And I'm like, surely not. Because Kazumi seems to have a thing for him. But he's like, Gunbuster has to win. And she's like, okay. He's like, are you listening? She's like, yes, I nodded. I nodded, sir. That means yes. And he says, apart, you and Amano. This part here where he said, apart, you and Amano are simple flames. But together, you can become an inferno. Mm-hmm. So I liked that you had the little calligraphy picture of the heart when he was playing the Go game back in the earlier episode, and here there's the calligraphy of Inferno. I was like, is he just giving Noriko his blessing that if he doesn't make it, Noriko's cool to take care of Kazumi? Does he know something we don't? I thought that's what he was suggesting, but you know. Powered by that Inferno, Gunbuster is invincible. I love that he's just like, you are the two that I've chosen. He's like, took me a long time to get you ladies together. Don't fuck it up. Ah! He's like, together you'll win. And she's like, I hear you, coach. And he's like, good. The blood on him is very effective. And then he says, back then I was prepared to lay down my life for Admiral Takaya. But it was he who did it for me. It's my fault, all of it. I like that he goes through like everything with the survivor's guilt. And he's like, I've stayed alive until now to pay him back. And I needed to bring the future he gave me to you and Amano to pass it along with the Gunbuster. So basically he's like, look, I picked you because, I mean, I've told everybody it's your personality that's fit for the Gunbuster, but the reality is I picked you because your dad saved my life, and now I'm repaying him by letting you man the most OP mech in the galaxy, and I'm saving Amano because I have a thing for her. You know, it's like Kimiko with her kid. He wants to save the people he cares about the most. Yeah. And then he's like, not long now before that's over too. And then, man, he has a moment here where he says to do me a favor, don't tell Amano about this. She's soft. She's not the kind of girl who can fight if this is on her mind. I'm like, that's true. And so I get why he wanted to push her away, because he's like, if she's all worried about us and being in a relationship, she won't go through with it, which turns out to be surprisingly accurate, actually. But it's like communication. You know, maybe they should have talked about this on the train before they got into space and nearly screwed over the entire planet. So he asked Noriko to protect Amano for him, to do it for him, which is a sign he does care about her a lot. He's just a big old damn tsundere who doesn't want to show it. We get our obligatory boobs and puss shot because we need to. And then she's like, well, I'm naked, I've bathed, time to go save the Earth. And she's like, well, how do I protect her? She ends up protecting her by essentially giving her the pep talk that she needs, because she already knows that he's dying. I like the Earth Defense Agency. That structure there looked super, super techie and sci-fi. I liked that. I also liked the Gainax guy that had the Gainax like tag on his uniform. That was fun. And then everybody's like, so what do we do? We don't have the new battleship outfitted. I like the head of operations. She sounds great. Head of operations looks like a badass bitch. I'd follow her. Let me be part of your army, ma'am. And so they're like, ma'am, you're the only woman at the table. So what are our options? She's literally the only one there. And then when they pan out, she's not even at the table. How unfair. And they don't know what to do. And that's when the door slams open and frickin' Oda from his hospital bed overpowers a trained armed guard. Just the dick of this man. And he's like, look, you guys should have came to me earlier. I'm like, why weren't you at the table on this? My thing is, I know Oda is like seriously ill, but it's like, look, y'all should have like zoomed me in. Do we not have this technology? You should have, Star Wars 1985 had the projector feature, so I know that you all could have put that in this anime. You all could have made that a thing. You could have projected Oda in like you're doing now while you go over the Excellion and everything. You could have had him explain all this if you really wanted to, because he was important despite his health. Yeah, the decommissioned Excellion into the center of the enemy forces unmanned. Okay, and from there, we'll open the Kingston valves, and the reactor will go into overload, and 2 minutes and 40 seconds later, it'll create a black hole. and suck in Jupiter 2 and the majority of the enemy. Just Jupiter 2. We didn't need Jupiter 2. We have Jupiter 1. We're fine. We got Jupiter 3 to take its place. Yep, the Buster machines can get it there. And they're like, sir, that's insanity. And he's like, so what other plans do you have to take care of hundreds of millions of space monsters? Y'all were sitting here with your thumbs up your ass 5 seconds ago. Any other plans? I'm like, I appreciate Oda's tenacity being like, tell me what other plans you got. What's the options? We got 1 completed Gunbuster. What else do you think we're going to do? I'm like, hell yes. This man has fought this entire series to get what he wants. So meanwhile, we have the train ride taking us down the super express route, passing the Okayama station as scheduled, going 750 kilometers per hour, which is super fast. That's pretty damn fast. So yeah, and they're going to arrival at 9:31. So yeah, obviously, I like they say they have telephone cards. It's such a cute little tech thing. And Noriko's like, so hey, about this trip, we don't have a lot of luggage packed. It's almost like we're not expected to be out very long, like, because we're gonna get back really soon, right? And Kazumi's like, yeah, or we're gonna die out in space. And Noriko's like, what? I mean, it's not gonna take us that long, right? It won't be long before we're back. And that's when she's like, it'll be long enough. 6 months will have passed on Earth. So the predicted time for when they'll be gone is 6 months. So that's when Noriko brings up the health. I like that we have the Regain Coffee advertisement up in the corner. That's a fun time. And Kazumi is like, I know about it, but now's not the time to fret over one man. Says the woman who's going to fret over one man very soon. There are many more billions more that we have to put first instead, which is probably what he told her. He probably told her she didn't need to fret over one man. They needed to worry about the rest of the earth, but it's hard when you're in love with someone. And Noriko's like, gee, I'm glad you're still you. I'm glad you're not just regurgitating the words that he told you before he slapped you in the face. So the Gunbuster Machine 1 and 2, I think it's interesting that Noriko was able to pilot the 1 by herself last episode, but I guess 2 is better than 1. This is just the hyped version. And she's like, oh man. And then Noriko is a woman after my own heart. You know why? Because she puts her foot in her mouth. And I do it all the time. I was like, damn, girl, I put my foot in my mouth so many times and then been like, hey, but at least this didn't happen. And you're like, so she's like, I got a feeling that when we make it back, that you and Oda are going to get married. And Kazumi's like, I hate you. She's like, yeah, we might get married right before the funeral. Like, oh my God. Ugh, girl, that's like the worst thing you could have said in that moment. She's like, did I nail it? Kazumi's like, just like a nail in a coffin. You sure did. She's like, you two are the perfect couple after all. The coach needs someone to help him mind his condition. My thing is, again, perfect couple. They definitely seem compatible, which is why I'm not completely opposed to it. It just irks me a little, the age difference, but it's not the worst thing in the world. But it's fine. It's fine. It could be worse. It could be worse. It could be worse. Yeah, it could be worse. But yeah. And then, of course, Kazumi is like, look, he's not going, don't you get it? His body's deteriorating from space radiation syndrome, which they don't mention until now, but it makes perfect sense. And she's like, I may never see him again. And of course, they cry about him leaving, and he's sitting there with his crutches, and Zheng's like, yeah. She's like, you want to hear what they're saying? It's not fun. I love that shot of the two of them standing side by side. That shot with Zheng is so damn good. So damn good. And when he has the aviators on, of course, because you don't want to see him cry, of course. And she's like, you may not ever see her again. And he, of course, isn't going to let us see his tears. No, no, no. Meanwhile, in Okinawa, Kimiko, looking her best MILF life, is just with her little daughter, Takumi, and saying, I'll tell you about it when you're older, dear. My best friend's trying to save the world. Which is super cute. I like their little house. I like the little room with the little doll in the case. Super cute. Anyway, so we get the Excellion, we go out into space. The one thing that's so cool about the space battles in this series is that they're not overcomplicated. They're not overly complicated. They do exactly what we need them to do. We want to see badass explosions. We want to see space monsters getting sliced in half, which the anatomy of that was so freaking cool. We get to see space explosions. We get to see a black hole. We get to see space monsters. We have tension. It's not overdone. It's just the perfect amount of space battle. Some space battles go on way too long. Star Wars, I'm looking at you. Because especially the prequels. The original Star Wars is not that bad. But it gets carried on sometimes. But I'm like, look. This space battle was all we needed. Wham, bam, thank you, ma'am, to the point. They're there. It's not like Frieza on Namek. We got there. We did the thing. We got out. The emotional beats were met. We got to have the exposition with Noriko and Kazumi. It was well done. It was well executed. It was appreciated. It was just a really good job. But yeah, the fact that Earth time and space time was syncing up and then suddenly it was jumping ahead was wild. Yeah. So as soon as they started moving, it started accelerating. I'm going to be honest with y'all. If I looked down and saw everything moving that fast on the Earth time, I would have a panic attack. I really think I would. Even if you had prepped me before, even if you let me know, be like, hey, that Earth time thing is going to move really quickly, but it's okay. Don't freak out. Don't worry too much about it. It'll be fine. So the fact that time would be moving that quickly while I was moving in space, I think I would have an existential crisis. I think I'd freak out because that'd be a lot on me at once, right? And so I'm not surprised that Kazumi has a freak out. I find it interesting that she's the one that's always been the level-headed one that was like, said she was perfect for Gunbuster, but because of one man, she almost had a freak out and doomed us all. Glad Noriko already lost her man, so she didn't have to worry about it. So, but yeah, so they see that 2 days have already passed immediately, and then 3 and then 4. And Kazumi, I like Noriko saying, hey, the time's moving awfully quickly on this clock here. Have you looked down at it, Kazumi? Have you looked down at it, Kazumi? She was literally like Nappa to Kazumi's Vegeta. Like, hey, Vegeta. Did you look down, Vegeta? Like, oh my God. And then, of course, the front line comes into play. They're like, here we go, Noriko. And then a space battle. Great job. Awesome. 3.8 billion kilometers to go, which is wild. And then they get there. They almost get attacked by that one monster. And so it's been 4 months. It's December. And now it's December 2000. Oh, it says 23 there instead of 32, which is interesting. Okay. Oh, December 12th. Okay. That's what it is. Yep. And the 23 or 24. So then she's freaking out because she's afraid in that moment that she's going to lose him at exactly 6 months. I'm like, girl, when this started happening in this moment, I thought, because they were worried that the 6 months and stuff was going to pass. I'm like, sometimes those prognoses are a little off. So he could still be alive when you get back, You can't totally say he could have already died. That's the thing. He could have already died after 3 months. You don't know. And she nearly screwed this up for everybody. I'm glad that Noriko got to talk her out. I also love when the one projectile from the space monster lands in the Excellion, they go back to the inside and those snails and crustacean space monsters have infiltrated the inside of it. And like the wing bay where Zheng and them were like lounging earlier in the series. I thought that callback was really cool. It was neat to see it invaded by the space monsters this time. But yeah, she's like, that day I was hoping he would kiss me and take me into his arms and say he loved me. Girl, I did not peg Kazumi for a romantic, but Oda is most certainly not a romantic. He is the furthest thing from a romantic. And instead I said nothing. And now I'll never see him again. So she didn't tell him that she loved him, right? I like Noriko's like, pull it together, girl. Did you not think he didn't want to spend it with you, but he denied himself and he risked it all. He gave us these 6 months to save the Earth, girl, and now we got to do it. They all trusted you and I to give them a future. So quit worrying about getting laid and let's do the damn thing. I love it. I really do. It's great. And they decide to fight together. It's awesome. The action was great. She's like, I'll fight for these 6 months. The song was great. It started out with some really sad lyrics, but then I love the animation on the Gunbuster. That looked fantastic too. That was great. And then, yeah, Noriko's like, let's do this. And the super Inazuma kick. Mm-hmm. It all was so good. I love the Gunbuster's mech animation. And she's like, the coach is with us. His heart fills every part of this. I mean, it really does. The coach really poured his heart and soul into this Gunbuster mech and for them to pilot it. So she's not wrong. But yeah, she's like, they blast through that one. I love how clean they like bisect that one space monster. You can see the inside of it. So freaking cool. But yeah. And then they take the homing laser. And then they basically just swat away like 20,000 strikes from the enemy. And then they cause the black hole. I love the Buster Shield. The Buster Shield looking like Tuxedo Mask's cape was really fun. That was a great touch. And then like this giant red wafer lands on the Gunbuster and they just go right through it. I like the little zigzag laser too. That part was really fun. It was just cool. They get to do all this fun stuff and basically cause a black hole and take all the monsters down with it. And the poor Excellion. All those memories on that damn ship. It felt like taking, like, the last piece of Smith gets sucked into the void, right? So interesting. And like, it was a success. So they take these G-rays. Okay, so 99.89% of the enemy forces have already been wiped out. So maybe they're going to get rid of the others before they come back. But they say in 6 months they'll feel the shock waves. So we're safe this time. So I'm like, at that point, I wonder if the coach dies, are Kazumi and Noriko and Jung going to be part of like a space force that, do they kind of stay immortal by going out and fighting these monsters over and over again and not aging and everyone else kind of ages around them? That'd be kind of insane. What if they just kept fighting all these forces and time went so slow for them, but then they came back and like decades had passed at a time? That would be so crazy. What if that ends up happening? Because, I mean, the Hakone Space Force Hospital. And, of course, Kazumi's praying that he's okay. You don't realize it till the mech lands by the hospital how big it is compared to the hospital. Also, there's a scene of Neon Genesis Evangelion around episode 16 or 18. One of those two. Where this scene on the sun coming up over the hill and the mech on top of the hill reminded me of something. But if you know, you know. But, yeah. And of course, we have this beautiful romantic ending where the hand comes down, they run, and then the door opens. I'm kind of glad the door opens and he's sitting there with his go board and his book waiting on him. I'm kind of glad. I was like, you know what? And he's actually smiling. You know, I'll let it go. I was happy she got to see him before he died. I'm so glad. What if she came up to him and he was like, I was joking. I'm actually totally fine. Yeah. Oh. She loves him, and I mean, she went on first name basis. She said, I love you, Koichiro. She went on a first damn name basis. Like, girl, that don't get much more intimate than that. Yeah, and her looking up at him and him smiling down at her. Okay. Okay. All right. Oh. That's really sweet. Oh, his smile is actually, like, it does wonders. Oh, and then he, like, kisses her forehead and holds her. See? That's nice. I like that. And then poor Noriko, she's like, I thought we had something. And then she tells Smith there, she's like, I'm sorry, Smith. Oh, I promised I wouldn't cry anymore. But Kimiko would say I did good. Yeah, because they saved, and my dad would too, right? Yeah. I mean, Kimiko's still around, presumably, because it's only been 6 months. So, right? So we think. Maybe. What an episode. We only have one left, which is wild that we only have one episode left, which is crazy. But this episode was absolutely fantastic. I loved this episode so much. This series has been so good. I've made a lot of fun of some of the kind of like, they're not sexist, but some of like the more gender kind of like stereotypes that have come about. But it's been fine, honestly. A lot of it's just Oda being a tsundere, and that's fine. That can cross over any gender. But a lot of the fan service, this episode, it was done in a creative way, so I'll give it a pass. But this has been such a good series. I've really enjoyed it. And I'm really excited to see what the finale is going to be like, what that's going to entail, because we only have one episode left. And we've saved the Earth once. We've saved, technically, the Earth twice. Third time's a charm? Before we end the series? I guess we'll find out. But I'm so excited to hear your thoughts down below. I hope you all have a wonderful week. Please stay safe, take care. But yeah, I'll be back very soon. We'll react to the science lessons and look at the final episode of Gunbuster. Bye.